Aston Villa start 2026 as they mean to go on a 3-1 win over Nottingham Forest. Struggling Nottingham Forest, but a huge 3 points nonetheless, because Villa, of course, saw their 11-match winning run come to an end at Arsenal. They lost there quite heavily, but today making up 2 goals for their goal difference, but more importantly than anything else, putting 3 more points on the board. And as I stand here in the bitter cold, 12 points inside the top 5 now at Villa. That's pretty remarkable. That will change. Well, it may not, but very likely that Villa's 12-point cushion inside the top 5, so to 6th place, will reduce a little bit. But that's okay. Villa, even if they hadn't won today, would still have a strong position going into Crystal Palace next week, and we'll get onto that Palace game later. But they've won today, and that is really the. It's not, but please watch on. But that is the be all and end all. Really, I spoke about it in the podcast after doing 20 something. I don't know, half an hour on our fan zone. At the end of it, I did mention there isn't a whole lot to preview this game by it. Villa just need to win and get back to winning ways, which sounds mad after winning 11 games in a row. 1 defeat to Arsenal. Winning ways, I mean, it's factually true, but it doesn't feel like Villa's momentum dipped or dropped heading into this match. And the way that they played, total domination. Villa with, I think it was around 7. I nearly tripped over. I did trip over a piece of wood there. A tree branch. 73% or so possession of the ball, Villa today, which is the most they've had in the Premier League since Opta began recording such a stat. That was back in 2003-2004 that they did that. So Villa absolutely dominating Forest today. 570 or so successful passes as well, which is the league high for Villa this season. In the league, of course, well, obviously they've played quite a few Europa League matches now this season, but Villa today, using the ball very well. 574 successful passes, and that's very slippy ice. Let's have a look. Black ice. Can you see? There we go. Dancing feet. And also, as I mentioned, 73.1% share of possession against Forest. Anyway, going to get onto some stable ground now, because it's a really silly decision to walk over there. John McGinn scoring twice. Ollie Watkins scoring his... where are we now? 4th goal in 3 matches for him. He's back in form, and I'm going to start this actually by talking about Ollie, because my immediate sort of match reaction piece was speaking about him in the fact that now that he's... Sorry, this is going a bit everywhere, 1 second. Now that he's scoring more consistently, because yes, scoring twice against Brighton was brilliant, and twice against Chelsea, and then at Arsenal as well. But scoring 3 games in a row, that's... he's back on the goals absolutely now, and this, I think, is the first time since April 2024, which in my head doesn't seem that long ago, but when I read the games out, so 3-3 against Brentford back here, that was the game where Brentford come back from 3-1 behind, I think, or was it 3-0 behind? Anyway, Villa then played Lille, the first match against Lille of that quarter-final Conference League first leg, and then Arsenal. Those are the games that Watkins scored those goals in. Anyway, he's done that again, so 3 matches in a row, and he's back on the goals. And my analysis was that, well, even during Villa's 11-match winning run, there was one thing missing for me, and that was guaranteed Ollie Watkins goals. It didn't feel like going into those matches that you were confident Ollie was going to score, and although he scored 4 goals, I think, in that 11-match winning run, and then against Arsenal, the match that Villa lost, I think Villa scored 26, Ollie scored 4. If before that 11-match winning run you said that Villa were going to score 26 goals in this time, you'd probably back Watkins to score at least half. That wasn't the case. But now, almost that missing piece for me was that Watkins wasn't scoring with regularity. You can't say anything otherwise now. He absolutely is, and great to see him back among the goals. And what a goal as well, by the way. That must be one of his better goals in a Villa shirt. I mean, that's... there's plenty to choose from, of course, but in terms of top finishes, it's not a traditional Ollie Watkins goal, it didn't feel like to me, but certainly one which, he'll be proud of. I mean, they all count as a striker. Watkins, the goal against Arsenal, that would mean just as much as the goal he scored today, I'm sure. They all count for the same thing. So, for that reason, I am more confident heading into these past festive football now, aren't we? But Villa have obviously got Newcastle away. They've got Palace away. They've got some tricky matches to come, but having a fit and firing Ollie Watkins could be the difference for Villa over the course of a season. And I'm going to get into some sort of forward-looking and not necessarily permutations, but I've got a bit of time to kill, although the battery on this thing is pretty low at the moment. But we'll talk about that later. John McGinn scoring twice. I have no idea where John Victor was going or what he was thinking he was doing. It's like one of those FIFA games when your mate brings the keeper out, no man's land, and yeah, a really odd decision from him, but one that Villa gleefully accepted, that gift from John Victor, a late Christmas present, I suppose you'd say. And John McGinn, to be fair, still had a bit to do. Nice finish from way out, but guided it nicely into the goal to make it Villa 3-1. That was after Gibbs White made it 2-1. Forest really didn't threaten that much in the first half. There was one moment where Murray Hutchinson bent the ball from the right towards Martinez's right side. Strong save by the Villa keeper. That came after Kamara had lost the ball from Dominguez. Then Lindelof puts in a powerful tackle, but Dominguez maybe got the bounce of the ball to then set up Hutchinson. But apart from that, very little for Forest to shout about. And even in the game, apart from Gibbs White's goal, he had that moment at 3-1 where I think he struck from either the edge of the box or just outside, maybe just inside the box actually. Martinez saves well. But apart from that, Villa not really threatened by Forest. I don't think Forest are a particularly good team as a collective. I think they do have some very good individuals, Gibbs White one of them. But it's very interesting as a team for them. Because, I mean, this isn't a Forest walk and talk at all, but Nuno clearly got a lot out of them. And, you know, Chris Wood had the season of his life. Those defenders were defending much better than they are now. But I would say that even towards the end of that first half, before Watkins scored his goal, you did get that feeling of, well, if Villa aren't going to crack on in from distance, I'm not totally sure where that goal's going to come from. Because, of course, they got out of a hole in quite a number of games, didn't they? By scoring from range, long shot FC, etc. So before Watkins' goal, Forest would have been very pleased, I think, with their performance, stifling Villa really. But Villa were, in complete control, and as I mentioned those stats earlier, they were worthy of the win. Absolutely, Forest really didn't have much of a kick in the game, which I'm sure would probably frustrate Forest fans. I don't know. I just feel like the way that they played under Nuno was obviously transitional football, but at the same time they do have enough good players there. Elliot Anderson in the middle of the park, he was hardly touching the ball apart from when he has to make a tackle. But Villa had to scrap at times as well. Forest are fighting at the bottom of the table. As I'm recording this, Wolves are battering West Ham, which is a good result for Forest. I don't think Forest will be going down, but this was still a game that Villa had to win. I was actually thinking before the game started that, well, even in the campaign that Villa finished fourth, there were some games where they'd slipped up and, you're not going to win all of them, put it that way. And I had a bit of a hunch that actually going into the game, having just lost to Arsenal, 12:30, freezing cold, the atmosphere was never going to be particularly good today, at least in the first half. The Villa players had to do the work to get the crowd up, essentially, which they did in the end. But I just had a feeling that this would be a good opportunity for Forest, to be honest, to come here and get a result. They didn't do that, and mainly that was because of Villa's dominance, to be fair, in possession. Once Villa got the goal, they were okay. McGinn gets the second one just after half time. Matty Cash putting the ball across for him to score before he produces an odd celebration, and then adding a third after Gibbs White. So that's that. I'm going to quickly talk about where Villa are now. What does it mean? What does that win mean? And then I'm going to get into the players. So Villa 12 points away from 6th place as I record this. That could change, but if it stays double digits or even just 9 points or something like that, that's a fantastic position to be in. And I do think going to Palace next week, and next Wednesday, that's a huge opportunity for Villa. Palace have got an incredible record against them, so it's not quite a free hit, of course it's not, but at the same time you feel probably more confident than ever going to Selhurst Park next week, as they've got some injuries, they look tired. They of course play at Newcastle on Sunday. Villa have 1 day rest on them. Villa will rest tomorrow, Emery said, and they will work on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. They will work at Selhurst Park, hopefully work to what would be sounds mad saying back-to-back wins considering all the victories that Villa have stacked up over the last few months, but there we are. That would be a really strong result, and of course then you go into the FA Cup. So before this game I did say that if Villa can get 4 points from these 2 games, a win at Forest and a draw against Palace, that would be a welcome return, and Villa would still be in a very strong position heading into sort of I think it's then Everton at home after that, after a little break after the FA Cup, because you have about 7, well, you have of course a week break. You don't play in midweek because Villa are in the Carabao Cup semis, but in terms of Premier League duties, Villa have a rest essentially. No doubt there will be changes made for that Spurs game, so listen, if Villa get maximum points out of Palace and Forest, and superb, they then go to Everton at home looking to make it another win if they can produce one. You're looking at around 7 to 8 wins from here for me to guarantee being in those sort of mid-60s, should we say. Mid-60s will get you in the conversation for top 5. 70 points, however, pushes you into, that's top 4 territory. And Villa, the way they're going, are producing over that 70 points as a kind of projection. That, of course, would be a tremendous campaign, especially with the Europa League commitments that hopefully they'll be having deep into, late May, and a trip to Istanbul, hopefully, in that month as well. That's the those are the ambitions that we have now this season, and it's made clearer by every win that Villa can tick off. I remember standing outside the London Stadium talking about how Villa have probably got 10 more wins in them here and they'll be in the Champions League, and now that's going down to about 7 or 8 because you want to take a few draws away as well, and Villa have the games to do that in terms of their next home matches. I'll get to those in a sec as I load up my phone to do so, but I always look at February this season, or I've been this season looking at February as a real opportunity for Villa to get a number of wins under their belts. If I quickly get the fixtures up for you, as I say, Palace next week, Everton next weekend, then it's your Fenerbahce away, it's Newcastle away too. But February's a nice month that Villa will be looking to, in all of those games, win them. And at the moment, you'd say that Villa could beat anyone, anywhere, anytime. But especially with a fully fit team, and that's a bit of an issue at the moment. But I'll speak about that soon. But just in February alone, quickly running through some fixtures, I dodge ice. February, Brentford at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Leeds at home, Wolves away. I mean, I don't think those are particularly bad games to target a strong run of form in. And as I mentioned, 7 to 8 wins or thereabouts. Villa want to be getting around 70 points. Well, there's probably half of your wins in that month alone, and then of course it's your Europa League knockouts in March. So before Europa League knockouts happen, Villa have got a good run of games there, in my opinion, to take points off from. So even you look at that and you think, well, Brighton at home and Leeds at home, no games are given in the Premier League. Look, today, Forest struggling, West Ham struggling, Villa obviously win today at the London Stadium. Count on the brilliance of Morgan Rogers to win that match. So, as I say, no game can be taken for granted, but at home, Villa are now in some form, 11 wins in a row at Villa Park, which of course is a fortress. It's not even cringe to say that, it just is. It has been under Unai Emery for some time, and now they're ticking off wins here that you back them to beat anybody, and they've beaten City here, they've beaten Arsenal here, they can beat Leeds here, they can beat Brighton here, they can beat Everton here, they can beat anyone in the Premier League here, and it's just doing it that counts now, but you back them to. So for that reason alone, with the amount of home games that they have left this season, they could win them all and probably hit around 70 points, and that's before you go to Bournemouth, before you go to Wolves, before you go to Burnley later on in the season. So there's enough there for me to feel confident that Villa will get over the line and finish in the Champions League. Europa League is always a bit of a conversation in these walk and talks, and it's simply black and white, win the competition, but that's separate, it's not to talk about here. However, with injuries piling up a little bit at the moment, Onana missing, Pau Torres missing, Tyrone Mings missing, Barkley of course out as well, guest on at AFCON, and I've probably missed one, which always happens, but Mings and Pau both out for 1 to 2 weeks. Emery says Onana more. That was the only information that we got off Unai in the pre-match press conference the other day. So yeah, a bit of a shame to be missing those players at the moment, because you are literally one injury away from a crisis. In their centre-back positions, Villa don't have another option unless, of course, Bogard comes in, which he would if Lindelof or Konsa were to pick up an injury anytime soon. But but it's not a situation that you want to be in. Of course, Villa have signed Alisson, and Harvey Elliott isn't playing for them. But yeah, in terms of January window, we can have a little chat about that soon. But quickly wanted to add that Rodgers and Watkins have combined for 10 goals since the start of last season, 2 more than any of the duo in the Premier League. Emery said wow to that stat in his post-match press conference and spoke about how the players are essentially examples around the dressing room and the training ground. He said that they work every day, not like just here today, but in training as well. So yeah, he said he's proud of them, and also that it's fantastic to work with players like them. What I like about Unai having so much power at the club is that these players, they are not just two of they are not the only 2 players in that dressing room who you could label the same things at. Almost all of the players in that team, or all of them, love to work under Emery, would run through that brick wall for him, and will continue to develop as much as they possibly can under him. And that's why Villa are, again as I talk here, after 20 matches in the Premier League, 12 points ahead of 6th place. I can't stop saying it. Quickly on the January window, Villa obviously have an opportunity now to bolster. Emery wants to bolster. Spoke about adding some experience potentially, because Alisson has joined, and said that while he wants to improve youngsters still, experience is something that Villa are targeting as well. So yeah, I mean, no, Villa don't have a limited budget, we know that, but at the same time they do have some flexibility, and they are obviously active too. So yeah, expect movement in this winter window. But Villa look pretty well set, as I mentioned. Injuries aside, they do have 2 players per position, and this is the reason why you have 2 players per position, not just because you have then options on the pitch and to bring on the bench, but also when there are injuries, your starting 11 isn't so kind of patched up. Like, for example, I think Crystal Palace's probably is at the moment a little bit. Villa of course go there next week. So quickly go through the players today. Emi Martin has pushed on a little bit from corners. Emery has spoken in his pre-match about having to use goalkeepers that are 7 foot, or to give them boxing gloves to help defend corners these days. And there was a bit of a spooky moment where the ball comes in and Martinez punches it after being pushed around a little bit, or in fact him doing the pushing, which I don't like. I don't really want to see him get involved too much, but hey, as long as the ball doesn't go in the net, do your thing, Emma. You know better than me. But as I say, 2 good saves today. One against Hutchinson, one against Gibbs-White. Was beaten against Gibbs-White, and Gibbs-White's a fantastic footballer in the way that he took that goal. Pretty sublime, to be fair. Very neat finish. Good player. Quickly on that one, and I'll just tick off Lindelof here. He jumped up a little bit too soon, Lindelof, and actually during the game I was thinking, for a player who, of course, was a free transfer, he could have come in during pre-season and been more, essentially had more time to get up to speed with what Emery wants and learn quicker. Not that he's inexperienced at all, he's far from it. In fact, he's the opposite of that. He's been through a lot in his career and learnt many different things and played under different partnerships, etc, etc. But those little minor details, stepping up at the wrong time, that in the Premier League equals goal, and that happened. So yeah, jumped just at the wrong time, tried to play someone offside, and Gibbs-White runs in behind, takes it well. Konsa, I thought, was excellent today. Jesus, I think, is a good player. He was Jesus, but Konsa strolled through it. I think it was a bit of a lesson, actually, for the Brazilian striker. I don't think he's a poor player whatsoever. I watched the game that Forest played against. Who was it? I forgot now. They played exceptionally well in the first half of this match, whatever it was in the Europa League. So this is a terrible example. But Jesus, I think he scored. He could have scored 3 or 4. But he's active. He's around the penalty box, and he can be a bit of a handful. Not for Konsa though. Right back, Cash continues to have a really strong season. 2nd assist, I believe, of the campaign for him today. Pulls the ball back for McGinn to convert really well, actually. Good finish from McGinn. Maatsen, I like Maatsen, and I've said this a number of times. For me and the kind of balance of the team, Villa do need a profile of Maatsen, and they have one in the Dutch left back, and not necessarily in Luca Dean, but Luca Dean absolutely a steady player, and that probably does him a bit of disservice, to be fair, just to call him steady. He's much more than that, but you know what I mean. He's probably safer than Maatsen from a defensive point of view, but Maatsen is quicker. I think he's more intense. I think he's more aggressive as well. So yeah, Villa, we have two very strong options at left back for the last couple of seasons. Even with Alex Moreno before that as well, Villa had a strong left back department. In midfield, it was Kamara and Tielemans, of course, no Onana today, and both players played well. Tielemans was involved in all 3 goals that Villa scored. The first one came about after Kamara won a header forwards, and then his midfield teammate in the double pivot. Tielemans showed or demonstrated, as we knew already before, his excellent awareness on a football pitch to knock the ball forward to Morgan Rogers, who then played it forward to Ollie Watkins. Watkins then slammed beyond Victor. So handing that goal for Tielemans, and the second one was, I don't want to get mixed up here, but the third one was a through ball from Tielemans, spotting McGinn's run, just pinpoint on a nail. Fantastic from the Belgians playing forward. John Victor, of course, should probably be awarded with an assist as well, but Tielemans, of course, playing a really nice pass. And the second one, he's won the ball back, hasn't he? I'm pretty sure that was it. I think Bakwa was dispossessed by Tielemans, and Villa went forward from there. Lovely moon in the distance. Kamara, he's always going to give you a 7 at least out of 10, usually an 8. Today there was a couple of errors on the ball, but geez, when it's Kamara, you are nitpicking to the extreme. Like there was a moment where he lost the ball to Dominguez. I think I spoke about it earlier. Loses out, and then Hutchinson has his shot, doesn't he? But apart from that, pretty safe. And even when he does lose the ball, he tends to get it back one way or another anyway. So pretty sure he won the most duels today, or contested the most duels, Kamara. So hardly a blot on his performance. Just when you're talking about him, it's such high standards that he sets, and he continues to set as well. And Emery said, actually before the Arsenal game when he was suspended, that he's going to get better and better. And the question that was asked to him actually in the press conference was, is he underrated outside of Villa? And Emery said, well, he's not underrated in here. And every Villa fan feels the same. So yeah, we were all Unai when he said that. Nearly went. 23 minutes in, it's about time, to be fair. Moving further forward, Buendia, relatively quiet game, but again, played his part in what was in the end a very comfortable win for Villa. Had a free kick, didn't he, that he couldn't quite get on target, but I'm sure we'll see another free kick from Buendia going at some point. Morgan Rogers, just a fantastic player, isn't he? Again, because he hasn't scored today, he's obviously got an assist, but the goal was Watkins is to celebrate, really. Probably not going to spend too much time on him, but again, his ball carrying ability, his power in that midfield, it's a bit of a joke, really. The guy is a top player and will continue to drive Villa forward, literally, and hopefully this season and beyond as well. And we can go to John McGinn scoring twice. The first time he scored a brace in the Premier League, and first time since Villa beat Nottingham Forest 3-1 at the City Ground back in 2019. It would have been March 2019, I think. Villa wearing that white shirt. I'm sure everyone remembers, actually. Did Cordial score in that game as well at the back post? I think he did. But anyway, 3-1 at the City Ground. That felt like a really good result back then, didn't it? And it was towards Villa's promotion push. Anyway, here we are now, third in the Premier League, casually 12 points ahead of sixth now. And then Ollie Watkins again. I speak so much about him and back him too, because he does get a lot of stick, I think, sometimes, and question marks, and often, or sometimes even not rightly so, because this season he hasn't been at his best level. But as we'd been reporting previously, that he's had a knee issue, and that goes some way to explaining his form in the last few months. But he had a fantastic pre-season, so that alone was enough for me to think that he hasn't lost it overnight. And even if he hadn't done anything in pre-season and he had a bit of a slow one, like the previous season where he didn't play at all, I don't think, in pre-season, and then Duran was filling in for goals instead of him, even if that had happened again, you don't switch it on and off. With Ollie, he's a clever footballer and he works extremely hard, and that's his best asset. He works hard for the team, and I think a lot of what we don't see, be it in the training ground or away from Baltimore, conditioning and doing things right, you probably can't fault the guy. And to come back from, again, what was a bit of a difficult start, very difficult start to the season actually for him, like Rodgers in a way, just taking him a little bit longer, I'm delighted for him. And to see him scoring goals, there's nothing that can make him feel happier than that. And 4 in his last 3, 7 in total now for the season, I think, for Ollie, which is his the joint most alongside Rodgers. Is it 7? I quickly counted in my head. 4. I don't know. Anyway, you work it out. I'm pretty sure it's 7. And again, goals will be the thing that people judge Ollie by. And if that's the case, well, the guy's scored more goals in the Premier League than any other Villa player in history, and will probably end this season as a top scorer. If not, it'll be tight between him and Rodgers, I'd have thought. So, I've said before, does need a bit of help in January, I think, for me, bringing another forward Villa to take the load off him, and not pressure. I don't think pressure is the right word to use, but just the load, physically, give him a bit of a break here and there. We see the best of him when he is flowing in confidence, but to get confidence in the first place, he needs to be playing well. When he's not playing well, it's often because of an injury, or maybe he's feeling a bit of pain. So, delighted to see him get back among the goals, and that pretty much wraps up my player reviews. I think Sancho came on, Bogard came on, Dean came on, Garcia came on. First home appearance for him for a long time. Can't remember the last time he played at Villa Park, actually, Garcia. I'm not going to guess it either because I'll probably get it wrong. Maybe it was Tottenham last season. So, as I mentioned earlier, Villa now go to Palace very much in a strong position in the top 5, top 4. Again, just like after the win against Man United, haven't spoken about the title race. I'm not going to either. The only thing I would say is that, again, don't ask about it. Sorry, that came across quite rude. I don't mean to say don't ask about it. I'm not going to talk about it because, again, even if Villa had beaten Arsenal and beaten Forest today, a title race doesn't exist for me until April. It just doesn't. So I'm not going to speak. I don't think many people are talking about it now because it was a bit of it was the thing, right? When Villa were going to Arsenal, let's build this as a clash between two teams who could win the league. And Villa can still win the league. Nothing changes. But they're going to, I don't think so. Are Arsenal going to? I don't know, let's find out. It's just not a talking point for me. What is a talking point is Villa's capacity to get back in the Champions League. That's clear. If Villa were 12 points at the top of the league, they're probably going to win the league. Villa 12 points inside the Champions League places, are they probably going to get in the Champions League? I wouldn't bet against it, absolutely not. And I'm probably as pessimistic as they come. But the question I always ask after thinking about it after a little while, who's going to finish above Villa? Chelsea have got a new gaffer. Will get a new gaffer. Liam Rossini possibly. They're some way behind the chase now. Villa, if Chelsea lose at City, will be even further ahead of Chelsea as well. So, Man United, they're going to finish with Villa? Surely not. Palace, Brighton, all these teams, I don't see it. So Villa, for me, pretty comfortable in that top 4, let alone top 5. I think if you're going to, City and Arsenal may finish above Villa, okay. Liverpool will be kind of biting at Villa's heels, I think, in the next few weeks, or even months. And then Chelsea, I think, people at the moment, if you're going to predict a league table, you'd stick him in 5th, wouldn't you? And so for that reason, Villa have a bit of a buffer of, if you're going to predict the league, Villa, I think most people would stick them absolutely in the top 4. Worst case 5th, which should be the Champions League. So, we're 30 minutes into this, and I've come to the conclusion that we've got a chance. Fantastic form at the moment. Hopefully it continues next week against Palace. As I always say after these videos, you can stay updated with Birmingham Live, Claret and Blue, to see what we're doing. Games are going to continue as saying next week, and then it's a bit of a midweek break essentially before that Everton game. Then the games are going to come thick and fast again. It's Fenerbahce, it's Newcastle, it's RB Leipzig, it's then Brentford at home as well. So looking forward to those games. But for the meantime, post-match with Rollo and Kendrick should be up by now, I'd have thought. If not, soon, and then Q&A, I presume, on the Monday. Don't know absolutely for certain what we're going to be doing. Maybe then a fan zone on the Tuesday ahead of Palace. Don't take my word for it though. But if you want to get involved with what we're doing, mailbag, go to the mailbag. You can find that in any link on Claret and Blue Twitter, or just go to YouTube and I'm sure you'll find it there as well. So yeah, look forward to your questions and your observations that we can react to on the Q&A, and a possible fan zone ahead of Palace as well. So yeah, right, take care in these horrible winter conditions.